why would a loving God require death to offer forgiveness? Think about that for a moment. If God is truly all-powerful, couldn't he just forgive humanity? No suffering, no cross, no blood. So then why did Jesus have to die? This isn't just a theological puzzle. It's one of the most important and unsettling questions in all of Christianity. Welcome to Sacred Questions, a place where we explore the deepest, hardest questions about God, faith, and truth. Today's question is simple but incredibly profound. Why did Jesus have to die? If you've ever struggled with this, if you've ever wondered why the cross was necessary, or if it's ever made you uncomfortable, you're not alone. Because at the center of Christianity is not just a teacher, not just a miracle worker, but a man who was executed. Let's explore why. To understand the cross, we first have to understand the problem it addresses. The Bible presents a view of reality where something is deeply broken, not just out there in the world, but inside us. This is what Christianity calls sin. And sin isn't just about breaking rules, it's about a fracture in our relationship with God. A turning away, a rejection of what is good, true, and life-giving. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. The Bible teaches that sin has consequences, not just emotionally or socially, but spiritually. In simple terms, separation from God. And if God is the source of life, then separation from Him leads to death. This idea shows up early in Scripture. The wages of sin is death. But here's the tension. God is described as both perfectly just and perfectly loving. And those two things raise a difficult question. How can God forgive wrongdoing without ignoring justice? Imagine a judge in a courtroom. A guilty person stands before them, clearly responsible for harm. Now imagine the judge simply says, "You're forgiven, no consequences." At first, that might sound compassionate, but is it just? Would that really be good? Deep down, we know something isn't right about that. Because justice matters, wrong matters, and ignoring it doesn't make it disappear. So here's the dilemma. If God is just, He cannot simply overlook sin. But if God is loving, He desires to forgive. So how can both be true at the same time? This is where the cross enters the story. According to Christian belief, Jesus' death is not random and not meaningless. It is deeply intentional. One of the central ideas is something called substitution. The idea that Jesus takes the place of humanity, that He bears the consequences that we could not bear ourselves. In this view, the cross is where justice and mercy meet. Justice, because sin is not ignored. Mercy, because the punishment is not placed on us. Instead, it is absorbed by Jesus. Now this raises another difficult question. Why would God require such a violent, painful act? Some theologians suggest that the cross reveals the true weight of sin, not to glorify suffering, but to show that evil is not trivial. Others emphasize love. In the gospel accounts, Jesus is not portrayed as a victim forced unwillingly. He chooses this path. He embraces it, not because He has to, but because He wants to lay down one's life for others. In this sense, the cross is not just about payment. It's about self-giving love. Over time, Christians have understood Jesus' death in different ways. Some focus on penal substitution, Jesus taking the punishment we deserve. Others emphasize Christus Victor, the idea that Jesus defeats evil, sin, and death through His sacrifice. And some see the cross as a moral example, a demonstration of radical love meant to transform the human heart. Each perspective tries to answer the same question. What exactly happened on the cross? And why was it necessary? Interestingly, no single explanation fully captures the mystery, because the cross is not just a doctrine to analyze, it's an event to wrestle with. For many people, the cross is difficult to accept. Some ask, isn't this just divine child abuse? Why would God require the suffering of His own Son? Others wonder, why couldn't God forgive without sacrifice? These are not shallow questions, and they deserve honest reflection. One possible response is this: the cross is not about God punishing someone else instead of us. It's about God taking the burden onto Himself. In Christianity, Jesus is not separate from God in essence. So the cross becomes something deeply personal, God absorbing the cost of human brokenness, not demanding payment, but becoming the payment. Still, even this doesn't remove all tension, and maybe it's not supposed to. Because the cross is meant to confront us, to challenge our understanding of justice, of love, of sacrifice. At the end of the day, the question isn't just, why did Jesus have to die? It becomes something more personal. What does his death mean for me? If the cross is about love, then it's a love that doesn't stay distant. It enters suffering, it absorbs pain, it refuses to give up on humanity, even at its worst. And maybe that's the most unsettling part, because it forces us to ask, if this is what love looks like, how should we respond? So what do you think? Why did Jesus have to die? Was it about justice, love, victory over evil, or something even deeper? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy exploring questions like this, honestly, respectfully, and without easy answers, subscribe to Sacred Questions, because sometimes the most important truths are found in the questions we're brave enough to ask.